College Cork, and I do want to preface this by saying that as a PhD student, I've had to work a lot of hours in this past week, and a lot of my notes are still on my phone and not in my head yet. That's kind of the life of a PhD student. You go to school, and then you go home, you eat dinner, you go to bed, and then you do it all again, and maybe have breakfast and maybe have lunch in between. It's not that bad most of the time. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that every one of us has been asked the question at some point in our lives. Maybe it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And maybe it was when you were 7 years old. Maybe it was when you were doing leaving certs. Maybe it was when you were at Tesco the other night trying to buy wine and they asked for your passport and they just kind of looked at you like you looked like you're 12. But anyway, when I was 7, I didn't think that I'd be touching other creatures' shit every day. But I do want to say now that I'm not a parent and I don't own any pets, a dog, anything. I actually work on the gut microbiota. So I study the bacteria and other stuff that live in our intestinal tract, and I find it really interesting. So I'll tell you a little bit about it right now. So yeah, the gut microbiome is basically all of the bacteria, viruses, archaea, weird little shit that lives inside of our gut and it helps us do things that are really important to our health, such as digest food, prime our immune system, and help us religiously shit at 8 a.m. in the morning when you're planning to go before work. So what's really cool in this room is everyone here is human, right? Yeah? We're human. There's no guide dogs or rats sneaking around, I hope. But anyways, I do want to break it to you. You're actually not all human. So what's really cool is that over half your cells are actually bacterial. So some people say, look out into the audience, picture they're naked. But what I actually picture is, you're just little clumps of bacterial cells out there. And the audience, you're just little piles of shit. Sorry. So when I first heard about the gut bacteria, gut microbiota, I was at this conference and I was all alone, and this guy next to me he turned to me and he noticed I was alone, and he goes, well, at least you have trillions of little friends. And I was like, well, you're half full of shit, so. Yikes. There was one time that I was back home and I was driving in the States, in a certain state, Massachusetts, which is full of bad, aggressive drivers, which are formerly known as massholes. That's what we call them. You go to the States and you know what I'm talking about, masshole. There was a lot of traffic this one time, and I was at a red light, and all of these cars were in front of me, but they weren't moving, and I obviously wasn't moving either. What can you do? Ram their trunks? No. But the lady behind me was just honking her horn and being a masshole, and I was like, damn it, Karen, you really need a kombucha right now to calm your microbiome. The reason, I say that as a joke, but the thing is, these bacteria that live in our intestinal tract and make up about more than half of our cells actually are known to contribute to our mood and behavior and all these other things, which is really quite fascinating. So if you're too lazy to go to hot yoga, just blame it on the lack of bifidobacterium or something. So just eat a yogurt instead, eat some ice cream. That's what I do. I don't like hot yoga. So what am I actually doing right now besides suffering through my PhD? It's fun sometimes. So right now I'm actually studying how do the microbiota contribute to aging, because they've been known to contribute to a bunch of other things, including immune responses and stuff, which also contribute to aging. So basically, can your trillions of shitty friends give you gray hairs and wrinkles? We'll find out. So I'm sure you're also kind of wondering, how do you study the microbiome, because it's in your intestinal tract? So there's this technique called Fecal Microbiota Transplant. I hope you haven't heard of it, because if you have, it means you may have been in the hospital with a certain condition called C. difficile, and Fecal Microbiota Transplant, or FMT. It means that you have to eat shit. Literally, it's to transplant the bacteria from a healthy donor into anything. So for example, we often use mice or rats to do this FMT to test, do certain microbiota transplants, give certain behavioral readouts, for example. So that's what we're doing with this aging study. So I'm literally force feeding mice shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I don't know how to explain that one to my grandma. But she's dead anyway, so. Yeah, so if sorry. Yeah, so if I go back in time, I suppose, to when I was in middle school, there were all these old ladies. Like, I went to this public middle school, and all the schooling that I went to is public. But basically, you go to the cafeteria for lunch, and there's usually elderly ladies who are feeding you this really disgusting food. And for some reason, in New York State, pizza's a vegetable, which is great for me because I love pizza, and if it counts as a vegetable, you know, one of your daily fives, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, the pizza and the food in the school and the cafeteria, it's not very good. It's really greasy. It's really disgusting. So basically, if you tell them to eat shit, maybe you're helping them out. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so we're hoping to get readouts to see, can we transplant microbiota from a young organism into an older one and see if we can reverse the deficits in cognition and other things that we see that occur with aging. So that's the premises of my study. What's really cool, though, is that microbiota have also been known to contribute to things like depression and anxiety. So there was this one study that took feces from depressed humans and non-depressed humans, and first off, I don't know how you do that if you ask a depressed person for their shit. Like, it's not my job. Hello, can you please poop in this cup? I don't know. I don't do that. Anyways, so yeah, so there was this one study, and they took these two different poops and they put them into rats to see what would happen. I don't know what they were thinking. But they did find some really cool things. So the rats that had the depressed feces transplanted into them actually gave depressive phenotype readouts and anxiety readouts. So that was really, really cool. And so I have this theory that growing up, like, I always had dogs. So I always would walk my dogs around, you know, we'd go outside, they'd be running around, you know, sometimes they pee, sometimes they poop, everyone does it. But how many people have dogs here? A little louder. Are we cat people? All right, well, personally, I guess maybe this isn't so relatable, but oftentimes, not too often, but occasionally, when I'm out with my dog and he sees some poop, he'll just walk over to it, sniff it, and then before you can stop him, he'll just eat it. Apparently it tastes good. I'm not sure what happens, but I have this theory that that's the reason why dogs are so happy all the time. It's because they're always getting that FMT, that new microbiota, that's not depressed. So that's just a theory of mine. And cats are probably so pissy and hissy because they just don't eat shit. So maybe we should start doing that too. I'm not sure if that's what I'm going for here, but yeah, I think that's all I got for tonight. So thank you, everyone.